for their graduation and their wedding. So, but anyways, and that's the cool thing about the fourth quarter. And for those that have been here, I'm going to repeat some of the affirmations that we've talked about. And then for those that are new, I think you guys are going to maybe be in for a treat. So most businesses fail because of the lack of ideas. I brought this up last time, right? We are just ideas away from improving ourselves, our business, whatever goals you have. Compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. Who looked that up for me and found out that Einstein said that? So trying to compound on opportunities that you have with clients, activities, setting our Q4 2020 goals for transactions, volume, commission, buyers, and sellers. I always tell everyone that if it's not written down, it's not a goal. So make sure that things are written down, that you can see them. In addition to those vision boards that I talked about, put them on your phone, put them in your bathroom, on your mirror, anywhere that you can see them and read them every day. Work hard, play hard during the holidays. Don't be like a lot of agents. Again, I'm being a broken record, but a lot of agents, you know, right? I was one of them. Come Halloween or Thanksgiving, we're eating a lot of turkey and getting, happy and complacent, and especially don't forget about Christmas and New Year's. It's just a real fun time to just do nothing, right? But for a lot of us, we need to work hard and really focus and hunker down. So no action equals no income. Leads, appointments, and contracts are all lead indicators. So if you really want to see how your business is doing and will be doing in the months and quarters to come, focus on those things. Lag indicators are closings. And if you're focused on closings and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's the month of December and I have no closings, it's already too late. You weren't focusing on the lead indicators. Plant seeds, think like a farmer, nurture, harvest, but also we have to think like hunters. Serve, deliver, outmarket, outhustle. Don't let anyone ever outdo those things with you. Newton's third law, so we're going to bring in some physics here. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the harder we work, the more opportunities we create. The more opportunities we create, the more income we bring into our families. And let's make a commitment to ourselves and to each other that we're not going to go into 2020 broke. Does that sound good? Who heard that for the first time? Liz? So keep on repeating those things. So a couple more things that I want to go over. These are some action items that we felt were really important to focus on. So reviewing where your transactions have come from so far, year to date. Has anyone done that or started to do that? Any surprises? Anyone astonished at anything in particular that they want to share? Nobody? We'll save that question for later. I'll give you guys a personal one. I was equating for one of my other businesses, Dreamscape, how many of our leads came from open houses, from home shows, from social media, from referrals, and I was actually pretty astonished that a lot of them came from our home shows. And so that kind of told me that we are doing the right thing. So focus on those things. Activity planner, we gave this as a handout last time. Anyone use it since we gave this out last week? Nobody? Cameron's kind of nodding his head. You want to use it, right?
I didn't use that specific one, but something like it.
If you don't have that, we'll do a follow-up and share it with you guys. Also, we talked about doing a marketing audit, especially in the wintertime, especially as the weather gets a little bit colder and we are doing less activities outside. Doing an audit on your website, your social media pages, your online profiles, your marketing collateral, reviewing your posts that you're doing on not just your personal page, but your business page too, making sure that your posts are getting the type of traction that you're wanting them to give. And that's one of the cool things with Facebook, from a business page standpoint, you can see how many people your posts are reaching. So if it's less than 10, hopefully, which you guys had more than that, that post was, probably what's a good, nice way to say
A stinker?
A stinker. But if you're getting a few thousand, or if you're boosting them, or if you're paying to get them out there and you're seeing thousands, that's awesome. Keep doing that. And then ultimately, we talked about this in lead generation. Are those posts also turning into leads? Are you getting direct messages? Are you getting some good activity, some comments on those posts? So doing a review of those things. We talked about what your messages are from a campaign marketing standpoint. We talked about this is a great time to do a sales map of all the homes that you sold in 2019 in the areas to make sure that your sphere of influence, your clients, your friends and family members, they know that you don't just work in the area that your office is. You know, shame on you if your clients think you're only an Urbandale agent or only an Ankeny agent or only a West Des Moines agent, but you've done a deal in Lake Panorama or Grinnell or Indianola, Carlisle. So making sure that you can show that off. Doing a portfolio of clients, showing their pretty pictures, whether it's a first-time home buyer or a family or the dog even. Just show them, you know, social proof in your business. Updating your stats for 2019, sharing that in a positive way. And then ending the year with some sort of appreciation post. Making sure, you know, we don't want to come off as braggers. We don't want to come off as showy. We all know those agents or those types of business that, you know, maybe they're tooting their horns a little too hard or too much, but definitely showing our appreciation for the people that have trusted us with their business. So that's always important. One of the things that I really focused on last month is organizing my home office. So start with a clean slate. And even deeper than that too, once you have everything organized from a paperwork, from all your files, your on your laptop, on your phone, also keeping your desk organized so that way that next morning you go to bed, you know, if you're like me, you might stop working at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 p.m., but you lay out all your files neat and ready to go. So that way when you come back to your desk, you know exactly, oh, this is the file I need to work on today, or this is what I need, the project that I'm, you know, needing to make as a #1 priority. Setting goals for lead generation. So back to the lead indicators that we talked about up top. You know, how many SOI contacts are you wanting to do this week, today? How many social media posts do you want to do weekly? Open houses, which we're going to talk about in here a little bit, and then how many direct mailers. But does that sound like a pretty good rundown of things to do for Q4? Keep you pretty busy. And the key thing is don't feel overwhelmed. We only all have so much time and energy in the day, right? So focus on the top 1, 2, 3 things that you want to really accomplish. Ultimately, we need to focus on the vital activities. The vital activities are the direct income producing activities. All right, so let's get in. So this is a 2-part Q4 coaching session. So one is I'm going to go through open houses and how to really leverage open houses into great opportunities. And then the second one is I'm going to talk about integrity selling. So I'm really excited for both. So we're going to go as fast but as efficient as we can go too. So why open houses? Open houses are one of the core 4. Can anyone list the other core pillars? Sphere. Yep. Thank you. I'm gonna look at these 2 because they do it really well.
Social media?
Yes, online, social media. I kind of lump those 2 into one. And then even lumping those 2 things, I mean, there's a couple dozen things underneath those. And the 4th is one that we did training on earlier, which was direct mail. And so it's one of the core 4. It can help you convert the listing. If you're at a listing appointment and Mr. and Mrs. Seller will ask you, Liz, what are you going to do to help me sell my home? You know, there's definitely things that we can say from an exclusive marketing standpoint, but by telling them that you'll do open houses, not just a regular open house, but the type of open house that we're going to talk about today, I think that's going to be a really impressive idea that the seller may not hear from the other agents that you're competing with. 4 big reasons for open houses too. So servicing the seller, making sure that your seller knows that you're working, selling the listing, of course, right? That's a no-brainer. Attracting buyers and attracting sellers. And that goes back into what we talked about last week with client compounding. So what is a mega open house defined? Pretty much it's a 2-for-1. It's a combination of a regular open house. And by the way, who did an open house this last weekend? Who's done an open house last month? Keep your hands up if you did one this last weekend. So almost everyone in this room who's done at least one in the last few months. So everybody, so 100% of the room has done open houses. Okay, so if you guys have anything to add, this is definitely collaborative. So feel free to chime in and help me with some additional, share some additional ideas. Like I said, a mega open house is a 2-for-1. It's one part the open house that we're all doing, right? And it's a second part, it's a going away party, so to speak, for your sellers and to the neighbors. So it's pretty much giving them an opportunity to say hopefully one of their last goodbyes right before you sell the home. And so the benefit of that, it introduces you as the listing agent to all the neighbors. So if you can get, the more neighbors you can get there, the better. The goal with mega open houses is to find at least 2 to 3 sellers. And by the way, I've done this training before, and this is something that I've collaborated with, or curated, I should say, with other trainers, whether it's Tom Ferry, Travis Robertson, Brian Buffini. But has anyone done anything like this and had any success that they want to share? This will be the first time? Awesome. So far, does this make sense though? So when to do mega open houses and when not to do them. So the first weekend it's on the market, that's a great time to do these type of open houses. You know, just like a fresh loaf of bread, the best time to sell is when it's fresh, not when it's stale. Speaking of stale, if you know we haven't sold it and we do a price reduction, also another great time to do a mega open house. Definitely great to do mega open houses in a neighborhood that you want to dominate. On the flip side, when not to do them is an area that maybe you don't want to do a lot of. If you've got a listing, if you live in Ankeny and you got a listing in Grinnell or in Panorama, maybe not the best thing to use your time and energy on if you're not trying to get more business in that area. And then also in a price range that you may not work. You know, and some of us in here, average sales price might be that $200 to $250, and if you've got an open house opportunity under 150, maybe not the best use of your time. If it's over 400, 500, 600, also may not be the best use of your time. But it's just something to look at your inventory, your listing lineup, your Sundays, and then go from there. So step 1 is pick a date to give yourself enough time. And then also don't limit yourself just to thinking that Sundays are the only good open house days. Has anyone done an open house other than a Sunday this year? Cameron?
I've done Thursday evenings, Saturdays, and Sundays.
Awesome. How did those other 2 work for you?
Saturdays went pretty good. Thursday evenings, I did 5 to 7 to see if I could get work people, and nothing.
But Saturday was good though?
The Saturdays actually go over pretty well.
Yeah.
And especially if I want to do 2 in the weekend, I'll do a Saturday at one house and a Sunday at another house.
Gotcha. Yeah, anyone from Kansas City or from a market outside of Des Moines? So I was talking with some Kansas City agents, just doing some networking, and they said that they actually don't do any open houses on Sundays. Sundays are church days down in Missouri and down south. So a lot of their open houses are Saturday, and they get a ton of traffic. But the Thursday wasn't good. Who else raised their hand? I think Cameron, did you raise your hand? What days have you?
Yeah, I've done Thursday 4 to 6s and usually have like 2 to 3 through those. And an odd time, and I only did this once, was Friday, like 9 to 11 in the morning. But you're catching all the stay-at-home parents after they drop their kids off at school.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
I had like 4 people through.
I might have to try that.
They're out garage sailing too.
That's so popular.
Well, that's why I decided we did a garage sale last year at home, and that's why I decided to try it, because that was apparently the most time to do anything. Because you're catching those people that are, and so like when we did our garage sale, we probably had like 200 people to our garage sale. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, if they're out looking for that, they'll see my signs out here too, maybe.
I think that's a great idea. Has anyone done that?
I'm wondering if a
Just-
vacant house could let somebody have a garage sale in the garage to get people through.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea.
I worry about liability, but that's just me.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
they're all coming through anyway.
but still brings them in.
You know, or maybe even leveraging not just that open house or that garage sale time frame, but then also maybe a neighborhood garage sale / neighborhood open house, especially if there's other listings, especially concepts listings, right, in that same neighborhood. So I think those are great ideas. So Thursday, anyone else tried a weeknight with any success or no success?
I had some plaza, I still have some plaza listings, and I thought after work people, but downtown.
Yeah.
I didn't-
Yeah.
Now I did in Pella
Mhm.
because that's when they do their open houses.
It's Thursday?
Yes,
Oh,
because
wow.
their businesses downtown are open on Thursday evening. So, and I actually had, but that was in Pella, I had quite a few
Yeah.
through them, but that's,
Aren't businesses closed on Sunday in Pella too? If I
yes.
remember right? Yeah.
So Thursday evenings, they're late night, but
Yeah. So thinking outside the box and not just doing open house on Sunday, because I know a lot of us in here have families and kids, and sometimes we've got events tied around the families and kids and church and things like that. So the more opportunities that you can create with open houses outside of just Sundays, I think the more leads we get. Picking a preferred lender, vendor to partner with. Who in this room does open houses with a loan officer, an insurance agent, financial advisor? Ashley, you want to share your experience?
Well, I go through Jen at Lincoln Savings Bank, and it's nice because then she puts a little money into like the snacks that I provide, and she prints out all the flyers and has everything ready for me, and just kind of the back work. I just show up, and it's nice.
That's awesome. Now, does she attend the open houses with you too? Is she there helping?
She's came to one with me, and it was because it was kind of out. I was nervous about this one. It was out in the middle of nowhere, and so I just didn't want to be alone. But otherwise, no, I just do it.
Tamara, did you raise your hand?
I've worked with Stearns, Stephanie Bonanno, on new construction, and she was our preferred lender, or mine.
Yeah.
And so she did a lot of the signs and a lot of all the paperwork and printed out things for new first-time home buyers, and she would come to the open houses, so I haven't had her do that for a while.
That's awesome. Steph?
I haven't in a while, but I used to have a lender that would go with me, and he brought his laptop, and he would be like, do you want to get pre-approved while you're here today? And actually, he actually picked up quite a bit more business than I did, but occasionally, if they didn't have an agent, we both picked them up, and it actually worked out.
Was that our buddy Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we talked about this a couple Q4s ago, right? As far as partnering with the right loan officer. I'm just going to focus on that just for a second. Ed, unfortunately, is no longer, I think, a lender, but Liz knows Ed too, but that's another story for another time.
He's not a lender anymore, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
We'll edit that part. But other than that, though, Steph, I mean, you had a great relationship, and I had a great relationship with Ed too, but he sent a lot of referrals to you, right?
He did.
And vice versa. And so that was one thing that we talked about a few Q4s ago, was making sure that you're getting a lot of leads back from your lenders. And it's not going to be a one-to-one, unfortunately, right? But at least for every 5, you should get maybe at least 1. What do you guys think? But the reason why I brought this up as a bullet, though, is I think we're not using our partners as much as we should. They want business just like we do, right? We're in the same industry. And so not just a lender, but think about insurance agents, think about financial advisors, think about home inspectors, think about radon, anyone that can utilize a potential lead related to real estate or housing, you should ask. And it never hurts to ask, right? And at the bare minimum, they can financially support you, help with the cookies, help with the drinks. Did anyone say from a safety? Did you also say safety too? Yeah, actually said safety too, right? Especially in this day and age, from a safety standpoint. If you're not comfortable with the area, if it's out in BFE, why not? That's politically correct, right? But then also, have you guys ever been in an open house that's just been really busy and you can't keep up with everybody?
Yes.
And you can't capture the lead, the name, you can't have a good conversation with those people that are coming in? That's where a loan officer is perfect to help you, especially one that you do a lot of business with, one that has a personality similar to yours that, we're going to go into a lot of this relationship building. But all of a sudden you're kind of a 1-2 punch. Pick a theme: wine, cheese, a fundraiser, chili, holiday themes. People like themes, right? Again, we're thinking outside the box. So not just, come to my open house, and then they, and some of us will bring cookies, but they don't know that. Some of us will put a pie in the oven. They don't know that, but most people expect it, right? Based off of what they hear and see on TV shows. But think about, maybe there's a fundraiser. Maybe you can do something towards Concept Scares. Maybe you can tie it in with your sphere of influence also. You can say, we're trying to raise, get Coke donations or raise food for our Thanksgiving baskets. I did an agent open quite a few years ago. This was back 10 years ago. And we did a Toys for Tots fundraiser. Agents and potential clients and people from my sphere of influence could bring a toy, they could bring a a check or a cash donation. And then actually, I heard personally that a lot of people came purely for that reason. Chili themes, fundraisers, wine and cheese, but just make it fun. Anyone have any examples of a good theme that they want to do or have done in the past?
I don't know if it was one of our agents that I saw on Facebook had like pumpkins set out, and if you came to the open house, you got to pick up a pumpkin or whatever. It seemed like that was a good one.
Yeah, she had a great turnout. Oh, it was Yasmina?
Oh, yeah,
She had
okay.
an awesome turnout. And think about, how can you, in addition to inviting the public, that potential buyer, we're talking about the mega open house as far as also inviting the neighbors as a going away party, but then also think about how you're going to potentially be able to tie in friends, family members, people from your sphere. And then also back to the preferred lenders, getting them to invite their sphere as well and making those type of relationships. So pretty good idea. All right, so step 2 is plan your marketing. And that's the one thing too, is sometimes people will say, yeah, I did an open house on a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday and just was a waste of time. It didn't work. Well, my question to you would be, is it the time or was it the preparation? Was it the marketing? Was it the planning? Because unfortunately, like a lot of us, I'm guilty. Yeah, we have an open house Sunday. Oh shoot, I forgot to post it or market it or promote it or do anything to get it out there, right? You do it the last minute. Oh, it's Sunday morning, 9 o'clock. Let's put that post out. If most people like us, right, they're busy. That if it's not on their calendar, it doesn't exist. So think about your marketing, okay? And so today, being Monday, is a great day to start advertising your open house for this Sunday. I probably wouldn't recommend doing anything further out than the Monday before the Sunday, just because at that point, it just might be too far out. But does anyone have any suggestions on how soon or when they like to start promoting their open houses?
I'm always done Tuesdays.
Tuesday with good luck?
Which is weird, I do Wednesdays usually, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe I need to start Mondays.
Yeah, and again, it's just all a balancing act. But I always think that the more time that you can give people to see it, and especially you're putting out there and maybe boosting it a little bit. Sherry, were you gonna say
Well, I was
something?
just gonna say too, if you started on Monday, then send little ticklers, like Wednesday,
Mhm.
even Friday, whatever, and just keep it in front of people, which I'm not good to talk about because I don't do any of that, which I do too. Just saying.
Well, that's why we have this handout, right? So the one reason why
it's
these
helpful,
handouts
that's
I think
why.
have been really helpful is, hey, I see you guys all taking notes, but this will kind of be your blueprint for doing these open houses. I think. Steph, were you gonna say something?
I have a question. So sometimes I load searches into Zillow for my
Mhm.
buyers.
Mhm.
And so I get a lot of Zillow emails. And so I know that you get emailed on Friday and on Sunday if there's an open scheduled.
Friday and Sunday, you said, Steph?
Friday mornings and
Okay.
Sunday mornings. Are there other sites, does anybody know, that email out scheduled open houses to clients?
Zillow's the best. That's what I found. I found that people-
Zillow? Yeah, okay.
I'll write that down, Steph.
Realtor.com doesn't really send anything out. I've kind of searched all of that too, and it just.
Well, I've never gotten
Zillow.
anything from anyone else.
I put in things to see what reminders I get too from all of them. Zillow is the best, and, yeah.
Yeah. Creating a Facebook event for the open house. Does anyone do that? Successful, worth the time and energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially because if you post it, sometimes people are gonna keep on scrolling, right? But then if you invite them, Facebook actually does a lot of marketing for you. Not only do they, notify you that you've been invited, but then they also will remind you as well. A few more ideas as far as marketing: recording a video invite and emailing that to your database. Posting the video on the seller's Facebook page or have them post it. How many people are leveraging your sellers in open houses or just the listing in general? I will say that, at least from my observations, I think that's one thing that we all can do a lot better job of is leveraging that seller. I'm pretty sure that 100% of their friends aren't going to be 100% of your friends and vice versa. So by tagging them, especially when it's a new listing, just listed, a price reduction, an open house, next thing you know, that gets all their friends, all their family members, their eyes and ears onto the listing. And it, again, creates more opportunities for, you know, more buyers, more sellers from their sphere.
I have a question about that, maybe this is for the social media class you guys are gonna do, but I usually leave it up to my clients to send me a friend request, or at least wait until the transaction's over. I mean, some people I'm friends with and that's how we do business, but other people, we're not friends on Facebook. And then I don't know, maybe I just overthink it, but does everybody else just automatically send friend invites to their new clients?
I wait.
Wait,
Until the transaction's over?
how many people wait?
They don't need to see you party.
How many right away?
I need to party more. That's why you can see me.
I know,
Right?
Yeah.
I just started doing it all together, but yeah, I think waiting is probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, as soon as I feel the connection, I friend request. If it's an awesome buyer presentation, awesome listing presentation, you meet them at an open house, and we're gonna talk about integrity selling as part 2 of this training today. But if that relationship's there and I just feel like a warm, this is gonna come off wrong, so I won't say that. I'll say warm is usually about my clients, but you guys know what I mean, right? But no, I'll do it right away. Now, what are the risks? The
I
risks,
think for buyers, that's a great idea. For sellers, they're always like, oh my God, she's at football all the time. She should be spending more time marketing my, my listing, and it's like, it could be never ending. You can keep doing so much
Yeah.
stuff all the time. It's just like,
Yeah.
when do you stop?
well, and we'll talk more about this in the social series. I've talked quite a bit about this from Facebook. You can create groups in your Facebook.
That
So
was
we're-
inside.
what,
I've done that with sellers where I don't want them to know I'm gone or
mhm,
at a party or whatever. And so I'll just say, post this except, everybody can see it except X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And so they're not gonna
I do
see,
that too.
yeah, then I just don't feel bad.
Then you just keep them out until the deal's done.
Yeah. And then you're like,
yeah.
But no, that's the only way though that you can get them to get on your business page. So they're still seeing your business page stuff,
Mhm.
you know what I mean, show up, but they don't need to see all your life events always, I guess, so.
Yeah, I think to each their own. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. But at the end of the day, we all know that real estate is a relationship business, right? And we're gonna talk more about strengthening relationships with our potential clients. So for me, I would say you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I'd rather friend request them, especially if they haven't committed to you yet as a buyer or a seller. And the next thing you know, there might be some common interests. There might be some common friends. They might say, oh, wow, that Jen is a sweet, gal, and she does this and does that. And, back to what we'll talk about more in the social series, what we've talked about, the 80-20 rule, the 60-45-15-5 that I talked about, all that stuff. So me personally, I always friend request as soon as I like somebody. Anyone else had their hand up for anything in particular?
I was just gonna add on to that. Similar, so a big part of why people end up working with me is because of our social lives as an agent. And so people are attracted to what you do socially. You don't have to flood them with real estate stuff to make you think you're working. They know you're gonna hustle because, like you said, your business page is fun. But if you go to a game or something, or if you have a family, they can relate to that, and they're gonna want to work with you that much more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, that's always worked for me. I found that people are more engaging and react more to my personal stuff than they do my business stuff, which brings me more business.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle. That's, we're in a lifestyle business.
Tacos.
That's right. And every time somebody thinks tacos, they think me. Yeah.
Did someone else have their hand raised for anything? Well, let's keep going. So one thing too is posting a video announcing the open house, I've talked about this before too, announcing the new listing. I know a lot of us are shy, and you don't have to have your beautiful faces front and center on those videos. You can have your voice. If you see my impromptu videos, I never have my face on, it's just my voice. So you can definitely do that and show off the house, right? Do a little sneak peek for the open house to come. But by using social media, by using video, by leveraging all the things we're talking about, it's just gonna get that many more potential people through the open house. The worst thing that happens is you tell your seller you're gonna do an open house and you do zero output, zero marketing, you put nothing out there and you get goose egg. So not only does the seller think that you failed, but then also you've wasted your time and energy, and you've taken that time away from people that you should be spending it with, whether it's your family, your friends, your kids, and other clients. Okay, so Wednesday, send out invitations by mail or door knock. And so again, this goes back to also inviting the neighborhoods. You are gonna get those neighbors, right? And one thing I should back up is we need to get permission from the sellers to invite the neighbors, right? Hopefully they'll all be cool, and hopefully we can sell it to them. And the fact that this is an opportunity, A, for you to say bye, but then also an opportunity for them to potentially see the home and refer it on to a friend or a family member that they would want to be a neighbor with. Again, this is output, right? And so the more shots we take, the more opportunities we have. So by doing a personal handwritten invitation to the nearest neighbors, I think that's smart. By knocking on doors, again, time and energy, I think that's also smart. And it's not like you're there to, solicit their business. It's not like you're there campaigning for, this politician or selling candy bars or whatnot. You're truly there trying to help your seller and ultimately make a relationship. I'm Liz. I'm the agent for Susie and Bobby, and wanted to personally invite you guys to an open house. They've loved their home. They've been at this home for the last 12 years. As you know, their last, the youngest is now graduating from high school, and they're ready to downsize. So they wanted to, A, personally invite you. They wanted to make sure that I gave you this invitation, but then B, come over and hang out. We're going to have some wine and some cheese and do one last hoorah. So I know when I moved away from my last home, I think if I were to sell it and do an open house like that, I think it would have been a very well attended event. And I think you'd meet a lot of new people that you haven't met. And what better way to get introduced to the neighbors than by the seller that you've already done an awesome listing presentation. You've already initiated your marketing plan. You've taken the professional videos, the photos, and now you're organizing this awesome open house that I don't think any other agent or market does.
So you're saying like invite only, just have the neighbors come over, do a party almost?
Yeah, it's gonna be a two-part, Shannon. So before the open house starts, so the open house can be 1 to 4, 1 to 3, whatever time you set, right? Or in the evening even. But before the open house is kind of like the pre-party for the sellers, for the neighbors. And then as soon as the open house starts, you politely ask them to leave. Yeah.
I was wondering,
Yeah.
if you had the seller there
Yeah.
during the open house party, and I was trying to figure out.
Oh, and I'll keep going too. So we're still on the planning and marketing. So let's see, where else was I at, guys? Oh, don't forget, this is huge. Don't forget expired listings and for sale by owners in the area. Don't you guys think that's a great opportunity? Not only were they one-time sellers or for sale by owners, current sellers, they may want to swing on in to see what their competition is doing. And then who else are they going to get a chance to meet is awesome agents that 67% of for sale by owners are going to turn to a seller or to a listing agent, right? They haven't sold their house yet. So definitely don't forget about them. And that's Wednesday. Friday or Saturday, follow-up, email, phone calls, text messages. The art of the follow-up, it's one thing is, we post, right? We post a event or we post on Facebook, but to add comments or to remind people to follow up via text, via email, that's really important just because most people, as you guys all know, and we are the same way ourselves, right? We forget about things. So we might see this post on Monday. We have, Lisa's having an open house in Windsor Heights on Monday, but come Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, most likely we forgot, but if someone's engaged or interested, or if you add a comment to recirculate that post, I think those are all really smart things to do. Another thing that I've got here too, guys, is boost on Facebook. Does anyone boost open houses on Facebook? I hope almost everyone in this room. That is probably the best, most cost-effective way to get maximum exposure, especially putting it in your listing presentation to seal that listing opportunity. And I'm not talking, you guys don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on it. Who can tell us the budget that you use for open house boosts?
$10 a week.
$10.
I was gonna say 10.
Yeah, I've done them as little as $5. I think you can still boost for $5 on social media.
You can you?
Per
Yeah.
day.
It depends
I just
on
did
per
yesterday.
day. It's
you
a
can
dollar
do it
per
per
day
day.
minimum.
$10 is a great number.
Yeah, but $10 gets you in front of about 2,000 people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you don't have to tell the dollar amount to the seller. You can just say, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, part of what I'm going to do to help you sell your home is I'm gonna do all these things, and then also we're gonna boost it. Not only does Concepts boost new listings for 6 days, at no charge to you guys as agents, but you're gonna do that as well. And all of a sudden, they're gonna see a lot of things that you're gonna do for them that other agents aren't doing. So I definitely recommend doing that. I like, at a bare minimum, guys, I think Friday or Saturday is when you should, at the last, I should say, Friday or Saturday are the last days you should boost. I think if anything, boosting it a little bit earlier. I don't know, Monday I think is still good, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I mean, you gotta boost soon. Cameron, were you say something?
I do Wednesday, I don't know why, but Wednesday's my day to do, put my ads on, boost it.
Yeah.
So that it runs. Cause I think, and I do each day then add something so that it doesn't get lost, cause it gets lost in the feed.
Mhm.
So,
I love it. And the key thing with that is top of mind awareness, right? So boosting on Wednesday, keeping it there, adding comments, resharing it, reposting it, it keeps it up there and it keeps it on the top of the mind for everyone that's seeing it. Okay, so we talked about Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, right? And then Sunday is a big day. So 9:30 a.m., maybe as late as 10, maybe as late as 10:30, maybe as late as 10:45. Hit that area super hard with signs. You can even do that Friday too. The key thing is just be careful with putting too many signs out. You know, we all have these city Nazis, right, that will pull your signs and throw them away in some sort of junkyard in Des Moines. So just be careful. But the more signs, definitely the better, right? There are times where I don't do open houses very often, but I'm seeing an agent, like it's like 11, no, I'm sorry, what was it? It was 12:30 Sunday. I was going to get, what was I getting? Lunch? I think it was lunch. And I saw an agent, someone I knew from another brokerage, putting the open house sign on the corner. And it was like, you know, right before the open house, which awesome for her that she did it, but could have probably done it just a little bit sooner to get that exposure. Does that make sense?
I don't put mine out before, because my sign doesn't say it's open from a certain time. So I feel like if I put mine out too soon, people are gonna show up to the house and be like, well, it's not open. Do you
Yeah.
think most people have like their times on the flyer?
A little bit, I think so. I think,
Yeah.
and you can, there's bags, you know, I had one somewhere in my garage that said open 1 to 3 or open 1 to 4. So you can definitely put some sign riders or bags, or even have it in your directional signs, or even the big flags. Anyone use those big, super huge, tall flags?
Just have to listen, of course.
Yeah. And I love those because it really creates an event out of the open house. But again, there's no right or wrong way, but I do have like at least 5 to 10 signs. Great investments for marketing.
Signs the day before,
Mhm.
my open house directionals.
Yeah, that's why you just gotta be careful. And that's why I do, you know, I think at the bare minimum, doing it like 10 o'clock the morning of the open houses. And there's a rule, like the city of West Des Moines, I think you have 2 signs outside of your listing, outside the yard, I think is what West Des Moines is.
Check for how long?
I don't know, like, I don't know. I think in general, yeah, in general, I can't remember that exactly.
So when I started setting up on Fridays and Ankeny.
Yeah.
oh,
you know what? I
that's
don't-
because Ankeny, you can't put them out till Saturday night. You
I thought it
can
was
get,
Friday after 5.
they have
Friday
taken
house,
my
Thursday.
signs.
It's after
On
garage,
Fifth
they
Street
kind
and
of clear up
Urbandale,
garage
my
sales
sign
on
is
Saturday.
sold all the time.
Actually, you leave the ordinance, it's 2 hours before,
Okay.
2 hours
Yeah.
after.
Well, they won't, they don't get you too bad if we do that Saturday
2
night.
hours,
Yeah.
2 hours.
But they can,
Yeah.
But they can.
but the actual ordinance is 2
Some they
hours
give you a
before.
time or just take.
Oh, they
your-
take their time. Oh, and if you have the nice sandwich signs, I mean, you're out of.
But you're not gonna go in and have it.
No.
Yeah. Well, and that's where at a bare minimum, doing it the morning of, I think is good. And then also making sure that you have, info from the city. But the one thing, guys, that I completely forgot to ask, and I don't remember who, oh, you got, Shannon, you said you got yelled at
Oh, I've been yelled at.
by the neighbor? By the,
Yeah.
okay, so let's flip that. Instead of being yelled at by the neighbor, which neighbors can be a-holes, right? Especially when they love their lawn.
But it wasn't their lawn though, is what,
Oh,
I
that's
mean, it
good.
was across, it was a sidewalk and then it was across the sidewalk and then they were just screaming at me about the rules
Yeah.
and laws and I'm like, I'm so sorry, okay, thank you so much. Like, don't look at my name. So, you know, we're gonna yell at you, you know, like, thank you so much. Yeah, neighbor.
But let's flip that real quick though, because I have done this in the past, and I definitely encourage you guys to do this. Is if you're gonna use a neighbor's corner, right? Knock on the door, have a little gift card, a little $5 gift card, or just something, or a little note, right? We talked about notes before in the client compound and the direct mail strategy, and say, something like, Mr. and Miss Neighbor just wanted to get permission from you. I'm gonna say Amber Solomon did that.
Everybody can use that name, by the way. Amber Solomon.
And I'm trying to sell your neighbor's house just up the road, and was hoping to be okay for me to put my sign out on your yard. It just leaves a little bit of a hole, or it's actually just a tent sign. I promise to get it back as soon as, the open house is over. And by the way, here's for your trouble, here's $5 with my card, right? And I
But
think
if you
that's,
put out 5 to 10 signs and you're paying everyone $5.
well, you're not putting, strategically, I don't think you need 5 to 10 signs. I think, flags, the 5 to 10 are including the flags at the listing. So I definitely would have, your yard sign, an open house sign, a few of those tall ones. So maybe that's 5 to 6 signs just for that open house, right? And then strategically speaking, I don't know, what do you guys say, 2 to 3 directional signs?
No, I use a ton of direction, and I get traffic from my directional signs.
Yeah.
But I also do if I'm doing an open house from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4, I have signs for each one. So I'll put those out first, like on the main intersections that say the time.
Yeah.
And then I'll use my other ones to direct them.
Yeah. Well, and some of the corners that we're using, guys, are commercial corners, right? So we don't have to pay the businesses. But if you want to go into those businesses, say, hey, I'm such and such, and just want to let you know, here's my card, would you mind keeping an eye out on my sign? Definitely say something.
For a permanent sign that's gonna stay there.
Yep, yeah, that could definitely, that's a great point. Steph said that $5 to $10 gift card could be for a permanent sign that you can have during the entire listing. So again, it's just an idea. You guys don't have to do these things, but if you end up doing them and building a relationship and someone calls you, let me know. What's that?
I said, I think it's just a good idea in general. That's something that I have not done, but it's an excuse to have a conversation with somebody. So even if you don't have a gift card, you just made another connection, so.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so back to the timeline. So at 11:30, that's when the seller lunch starts, right? And so that's when you've got a specific time. 11:30 to 1 is when the seller can be there and when the neighbors are invited to come and hang out. And again, it's just a great opportunity for everyone to mingle and chat and reminisce and tell their stories and say, ultimately, hopefully, right, say their goodbye to that seller. And then 1 to 4 is the open house. Preparation. So preparation. Know the area listings. And that's one thing that I've been guilty of myself, is not knowing what other houses are in that area. So make sure you know the market, the competition, printing out the property flyers and the financing sheets. This is where the lender comes in very handy, having them help you with those things. The more professional with all your marketing, all your branding, the better. Having the open house apps. At breakfast last month or earlier this month, we threw out an idea of having a Ring camera or some sort of web-based camera at your open house for safety. There's apps that you can download on your phone, but there's also iPad apps that people can check in on. But then at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with having a piece of paper and a pen for sign-ins. Of course, business cards, company marketing pieces. That's, I think, very important because, if a potential seller is coming to your open house and you have, very unprofessional, garbage-looking materials, most likely they're not going to list with you. But if you've got some really nice, high-quality, glossy, very professional-looking printed marketing pieces, all of a sudden that you probably, raise up in ranks, right? A laptop or iPad for instant property searches, and that's critical too, guys, because we all would love to have just a super busy open house with dozens and dozens of people. What happens if only 1 or 2 or 3 people come through? Well, we're going to talk a lot about how we're going to convert those people and have good, genuine conversations with them with the hopes of trying to get more information and have your laptop there opened up on Matrix, or having some sort of vital information that would be important to them, I think is key to converting them. And then also just general buyer or seller items of value. I've talked a lot about this in prior trainings, but I'll bring my first time home, or not my first time, my buyer's presentation to the open house. Or if it's a potential seller, you can have your seller's presentation and you can actually show them, these are the things that I go over with my clients. You know, this is a buyer timeline. This is when you're gonna spend money. This is the 10 mistakes to avoid when buying a house. And I'm not telling you guys to give that full presentation or that full guide to that potential buyer or seller, but definitely having it there so they see the value in setting up that meeting with you. Or you could say, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer or seller, this is my presentation, but I do have this one handout, right? And that one handout could be, you know, some sort of summary of something that they would, you know, feel is important to making their decision on buying or selling or which agent to pick. So having just things like that, that's gonna be of value. Step 4, the open house. Stand at the front door with your sellers. Now this is when the neighbors are coming in, but be the host, right? We're the hostess with the mostest, or the host with the most, or however you want to say that. So as soon as that neighbor comes in, not only is Mr. or Mrs. Seller greeting them, but you're also greeting them and making everyone feel welcome. Be prepared to answer the question of how's the market, and that's a Tom Ferry thing, right? And the one answer I don't love hearing when I hear agents answer that question, the market's awesome. It's so hot right now. Sellers, our houses are flying off the market and it's a great time to buy. I mean, we sound so salesy, so cliche when we're giving that robotic type of answer. So think about how you yourself, you're gonna personally answer that question. For me, I always say, well, it just kind of depends. You know, it depends on what you're looking to do. If you're looking to buy right now, the market's actually pretty challenging. It's hard to find a great home. There's a lot of homes I feel right now that are on the market that aren't in alignment with maybe what value should be. Or if you're talking about selling, you know, Mr. and Mrs. It all depends on the price point. What we're seeing is 200,000 and under is a very good price point from a listing standpoint, but anything above 400, 500, 600, you know, we are seeing a little bit longer days on the market. We're seeing more months of inventory. So having those types of more thought out responses versus, oh, it's great, and oh, by the way, how are you doing? And all of a sudden you just like glanced over a very important opportunity to really have an in-depth conversation about your profession. So be prepared for that. Once the lunch is over, I said this earlier, ask the sellers politely and the neighbors to leave so you can start the open house. And then just making sure that's in the invitation too, just saying we're gonna have, you know, a lunch at this time, and then at 1 o'clock the open house starts. Now, worst case scenario, the seller's still there, the neighbors are still there, and a few people start coming in. It's not the end of the world. You know, handle it the best way you can. But then when the real open house starts, of course, greet them at the door, ask them to sign in. We're going to talk more about develop rapport, ask questions, demonstrating and integrity selling part of this training. This actually took up a lot of time. Cameron, you jinxed me. She said, are we going to get past the first page?
You did though.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. And then from there, set the next step. And that's one thing I think that we're failing a lot on, honestly, guys, with people that are coming through is some sort of next step. So you know, welcome them, you've got to know their name, you've built rapport with them, you've asked some questions on what they're looking for, you've demonstrated, you've understood their mindset, but what is that next step? And so think about how you're gonna create that next step to help them with whatever their opportunity is. Step 5, definitely these are just more conversational things. How did you find the house? How long have you been looking for a home? What sites are you looking on? How's the home search going so far? Where do you live now? How soon are you wanting to move? Are you currently committed to working with an agent? This is a key one because a lot of times people are coming in and they're saying, oh yeah, I have an agent. Oh, wait, that's awesome. What's that agent's name? And they're like, deer in headlights, right? Because they really don't have an agent. Or maybe they filled out a Zillow lead and they think they have an agent, but they're not really committed to that agent. And I'm not saying we swoop in and try to steal another agent's buyers, but it is an honest question because if they say, absolutely, I'm committed to working with Shanna, and then all of a sudden, if there's 4 people, I know the ones that have already committed to working with Shanna aren't the ones I really need to focus on. I'm going to focus on the other 2 or 3. Give your value proposition. That's one thing that I really did, and I didn't mention this stat, but my first year in real estate, over 70% of my over 70% of my clients came from open house. Brand new people that I never met. And one of the things that I did was I had a brand promise, I had a value proposition. And at that time it was mostly first time buyers, but I would say, you know, I really, you know, it's great to get to know you. I enjoyed our conversation. Shane, I really think that, I know you said earlier that you're not really committed to an agent, you've never bought a house before. I really think it'd be a smart decision for you to have a buyer's agent. I personally would love to be a buyer's agent. I do represent this home, but I can show you anything on the market. I can even show you homes that are on the market. The benefit of having me as a buyer's agent is, and then you can refer to the buyer's presentation, you can do this, do that. But one thing that I would verbally tell people is, I'd love to set up a time. I'll show you every single townhome in this area and pros and cons, and at the end of the day, we can, find the best property that fits your needs. Something like that. I haven't said that in a few years, but something like that. But having that ready, because that is going to be, your last chance to create some sort of opportunity or moment to have them think of you that much more highly. Step 6 is a follow-up. Follow up with everyone that signed in that day, next business day at the latest. Send them a text message or an email, or even better, a personal note thanking them for coming, telling them how excited you were to meet them and how excited you are to potentially work with them. Schedule 45 minutes to an hour immediately after the open house to follow up while the details are so fresh. And if there's time in between, guys, use your time wisely. I'm guilty. Sometimes you're going to check the football scores or your fantasy football team and see how they're doing. But as soon as someone's leaving and that information is fresh in your head, those are great times to follow up. And all of a sudden, they get a text message from you as they're driving away. Oh, wow, that's Tamara. How sweet of her. Tamara, you say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, a lot of times it's a busy open house, which I have had some, not lately. But when I talk to people, when they walk out, I flip the page over and write on the back of the page notes about the person and flip it over so nobody can see my notes.
Mm-hmm.
But then I know, because I can see through the paper, which they coincide with, because you forget who you talk to, but that helps.
That's a great tip, Tamara. All right, so final thoughts. Make open houses part of your pillar. Make them fun, make it a game, make it memorable. And then also, for us that have families and kids, and make it about your family. There's agents that bring their spouses. There's agents that bring their kids, that have their kids help, whether it's with lemonade, cookies, or the kids are just on the couch watching something on the iPad. I think there's no right or wrong way to spend that time. So definitely, I think make it part of your family tradition.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think. One of the thoughts I have that I've not put together is there's always little kids that come into the open houses. Does anybody do anything fun for the kids to like a scavenger hunt or something in the house that distracts the kids so the parents can kind of focus on the house more?
I love the scavenger hunt idea, but anyone else have anything? Tamara?
It's hard having kids in the house because they want to touch everything that's not theirs.
Right, so
And it's
something
like-
that distracts.
Right. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
one thing that I do is I bring, for our home shows, for instance, we have coloring sheets. And so you can definitely bring toys or coloring sheets, or just like when we have kids come in the office with their parents, right? Having those same things definitely helps the parents too. And if anything, the worst thing that happens is when that kid comes and they're just a terror and they're on your seller stuff or they're touching this, breaking that. And then next thing you know, the parents don't feel comfortable. So they're grabbing their kids and they're out the door and they haven't had a chance to really understand or appreciate the house and haven't had a chance to develop that, rapport with you as the agent. So I think that's a great idea. Okay, guys. You guys okay for me to start phase 2 of the coaching?
Do we want to do that, or do we want to schedule it for a whole nother hour?
Yeah, because I have to go.
Let's do that too.
Okay, let's schedule it for all in a row. At least you guys can study beforehand. You don't have to do that. Okay. This was actually, this is gonna be really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
That's a lot of work.
It is. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Make sure you signed in.
Well, I was gonna say, whoever needs to leave can leave. We'll schedule another time to do the second part. But I have time, whoever wants to stay.